Welcome, and thank you for joining us this morning. We have waited a long time for this day, and we're so happy everyone could be here to share this exciting news with us. I'm Susan Walton, UND's Vice President for University and Public Affairs and the Internal Project Manager for UND's nickname selection process. I'd also like to acknowledge a number of other individuals who are here with us this morning. You'll hear from UND President Robert Kelly in just a moment. We're also joined by Director of Athletics, Bryant Faison, and members of his staff. And also joining us are Deanna Carlson-Zink, Bob Knudsen, Milo Smith, and other representatives of the UND Alumni Association and Foundation. I'd also like to recognize Matt Kopp, President of UND Student Government. Matt could not be here today. He is attending the Interim Higher Education Committee meeting in Devils Lake, but he's been extremely supportive of this process. And I'd also like to acknowledge my colleague, Peter Johnson, who will be opening up a Q&A in just a few minutes. Now, there's an old saying in public speaking: the bigger your news, the smaller the amount of time you should make people wait for it. So, in the spirit of that very wise advice, I'd like to turn over the time and the podium to UND's President, Robert Kelly.
Well, thank you, Susan. It's a very great pleasure, as always, for me to welcome everyone to the University of North Dakota today. Welcome our friends in the press, welcome all of our representatives of all of the constituents here at the University of North Dakota. Very, very exciting day today. Very pleased to let you know that we have brought the past to the point where we're going to transition into our future on our nickname issue at this exceptional university. There are so many people that I want to thank. There are just literally hundreds of people who have put time, effort, treasure into getting the University of North Dakota to where it is today. I want to thank two groups especially, particularly the UND Nickname Task Force. The task force was the process committee. They put together the ways and means by which we got to the point that we're at today. Also want to thank the Nickname Selection Committee here at the University of North Dakota. This group worked exceptionally hard, and I think rather than try to tell you all of the things that this group did, since we owe them such a great debt, I'd like to show you a video that explains exactly how this group worked. So let me say thanks by showing this group this video.
Almost a year ago, UND President Robert Kelly asked a small group of people to take on an extraordinary task. Their goal? Develop a process that would help the university select a new nickname. The group held town hall meetings across the region and collected survey data from nearly 8,000 people. After working for almost 4 months and considering public feedback, the group developed a process for selecting a name. This process would become the roadmap for a second group, the Nickname Committee. The committee began its work in early 2015. It gathered extensive public input and took suggestions for new names over a 30-day period. More than 1,100 unique names were submitted. The group used several criteria to carefully evaluate the submissions. After long hours and hard work, the list was narrowed to 5 names. These finalists were submitted to President Kelly and ultimately voted on by UND stakeholders. Now, the University of North Dakota has reached a turning point. A new name has been chosen. UND's new nickname is.
And it gives me a great deal of pleasure to announce to you today that the new nickname for UND's athletic programs will be the Fighting Hawks. I think this name underscores the tremendous competitive spirit of our athletic teams, our student athletes, and the entirety of the University of North Dakota, expressing our state spirit and the fact that UND continues to ascend to newer heights on a daily basis. As I mentioned, this is a very exciting day. Tremendous opportunity now for our student athletes and our athletic programs, and to talk to you a little bit about that, bring to you my friend, our exceptional athletics director, Bryant Faison. Bryant.
Thank you, President Kelly. Good morning. Come on, there you go. As the President said, we are very excited that this day has arrived. I especially want to extend my thanks to our student athletes, both those who served on the nickname committee and all the others involved in the process. They have dealt with this issue for a long time, and through it all, they've remained focused on competing well and performing like the champions that they are. I also want to thank those involved in the process, particularly the other individuals on both committees. We appreciate our fans, alumni, ticket holders, donors, and athletic staff that have been engaged in this process. I want to reemphasize what President Kelly did earlier, that today's announcement truly allows us to build on our North Dakota heritage. We are North Dakota, as we've always been. And our new nickname is a representation that our student athletes can carry forward with pride as they compete for our school and our state. The transition to our new nickname will begin immediately, but it will take several months to fully implement. In the media packets, you'll find specific information about what won't change, what will change, and when. You'll also find contact information letting you know who to contact with additional questions that might not be answered today. So for questions about the use of the nickname in connection with athletic events or athletic licensing, or questions about the use of the nickname in general university communications, contact information is provided in your packets. Now let me just highlight a few important details to keep in mind as we become Fighting Hawks. First, let's talk about what will and won't change. The names of many of our well-known organizations and awards will stay the same. Champions Club, which is our primary fundraising organization for UND athletics, will continue as the Champions Club. Junior Champions, our athletics children's program, Kids Club, will continue as Junior Champions Club. NODAC Nation, which is our student support group at UND, will continue as NODAC Nation. UNDsports.com and our other social media accounts will stay as they are. The Dakota Legacy Collection will continue with that name. And the UND Alumni Association and Foundation Sioux Awards will continue under that name. We'll also continue to use the interlocking ND and the term North Dakota that we have proudly used for decades. And again, I want to emphasize, we are North Dakota. At the same time, you'll begin to see some changes taking place to integrate our new nickname. UND will begin immediately to use the name Fighting Hawks in game notes broadcast and on our website. The new nickname will gradually be integrated into game public address announcements. Because UND has not yet developed a graphic identity to accompany the nickname, no logos or graphics other than the interlocking ND will currently accompany or be used with the new Fighting Hawks nickname. The university will soon issue a request for proposal inviting professional marketing firms to submit proposals for the development of a graphic identity, including the logo and style guidelines to accompany the new nickname. The selected vendor will work with UND stakeholders to develop potential identities. UND will allow opportunities for the use of the Fighting Hawks alone or with interlocking ND, but not with any other graphic representation until a new logo is adopted. UND anticipates that the final logo design selection will be completed by midsummer 2016, and that full use of the Fighting Hawks nickname and logo in UND's athletics programs will begin fall of 2016. Full implementation timeline may vary based on a particular program or situation. We're all very excited for that time to come. In the meantime, we're glad to have taken this important step and grateful to all those who have helped and supported the effort. And now it's my pleasure to bring forth Peter Johnson. Peter?
Thank you, Brian. Go Fighting Hawks! This is a great day for the University of North Dakota. We're going to take some questions, provide some answers. If you folks would like to come up this way, please. Who's first?
Well, the first thing, as far as the logo was designed by next summer, who makes the actual decision then and what logo is chosen?
Well, first, let me backtrack a little bit and talk about two different groups of people that will assist us in this process. First of all, we'll be asking for a team of UND stakeholders to assist in recommending the firm that will be chosen to help us in this work. So that team, and the people haven't been named yet, but President Kelly will make the final approval for those names, and that'll happen within the next few weeks. Those folks will help to recommend the firm that will ultimately be selected to work on this important process of developing a visual identity. Because stakeholder input's been so important in this process, another team will be asked to work with this firm that we select. In fact, the RFP will take the significant step of specifying that whatever firm is selected will work hand in hand with a group of UND stakeholders throughout the process of logo development. So, some final designs will be come up with based on the work of those two groups together, and how the final decision will be made has not yet been determined. That will either happen during the tenure of interim President Schaefer or potentially a new president, and of course their input will be very important to have.
In light of that, Brian, then what happens if it's summer of 2016? When could we actually see the logo nickname on uniforms and all that?
It'll depend on the manufacturer of the particular jersey, for example. In some instances, we've already ordered for next year, so that wouldn't be possible to convert till the following year. So it's going to be a case-by-case basis, but we want to make the move as quickly as we can.
So it could maybe be 2018 school year?
Well, in some instances, it might be that far out, but in most instances, it'll happen next year.
And President Kelly, do you think you've spent way too much of your time here on this issue?
Yes.
Next question. What was that?
The final numbers on the vote?
It's in the packets. You can get it there if you want. Sorry.
I can share that with folks really quickly as well. So the final number of voters in this final runoff were 27,378, and that's the largest number of people who have voted in any of the votes that were held. Fighting Hawks received 15,670 votes, or 57.24% of the vote, and Rough Riders received the remaining 42.76% of the vote, or 11,708 votes.
Any idea what's going to happen to the logos at the hockey arena?
No. But he might.
Well, the agreement with the NCAA was very clear. They can keep certain logos there, which they have for historical purposes. So those will stay, and there won't be any major transitions with respect to those marks because those were already covered by the addendum to the settlement agreement that we have with the NCAA.
Are you talking that logo we see behind us on the board there that would be intertwined with the Fighting Hawks name?
No,
Or
it's
the other-
interlocking ND. Yeah.
We refer to this one as the Flame logo, just for what it's worth.
How much money has been spent on this process so far, and how much money has the university committed to moving forward with logo development?
The process of logo selection so far, starting with the nickname process recommendation task force that began last fall, is in the high 200,000s. I don't have an exact total, I can get that to you, but it is in the high 200,000 range. We understand that that absolutely represents a significant expense. We don't know how much the next part of the process will cost. A request for a budget estimate will be a part of the RFP that goes out, and we'll be asking the firms to respond with that. Clearly, that will be a very important consideration, and we'll want to use our funds very judiciously for that. At the same time, we need to develop a visual identity that works well with our nickname and represents us well, and our job will be to balance both of those considerations as we make those decisions.
So now we're going to close off sort of the group Q&A, if you will. Susan and Brian will be around, and perhaps the president. I know he has a tight schedule. So if you want to ask them individually, we're happy for that. Thanks to everybody who came. We're excited. Go Fighting Hawks. You're going to hear that a lot in the future. Go UND. Thank you.